Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. The name is Princess Lila M, and if you're new here, I make faith-based content. I do vlogs, I do beauty, I do lifestyle content here on YouTube. And if you're a regular, welcome. Thank you for coming back. And if you're new here, please do subscribe. And to all my viewers, please comment, like, and share the video. Just let's spread some love. Speaking of love, sorry. Speaking of love, we have reached 100 subscribers here on YouTube. Can I get a I'm so excited. I'm so happy. It just took, y'all's love, y'all's appreciation of the channel, and I'm really excited and I'm happy. Thank you so much. This gets the channel to a 200 in this following month, right? Now, let's get on to today's content. So today I'm basically coming on here to put y'all onto something. So every year around Valentine's Day, there's an event hosted at this church, Royal Assembly Ministries, and it is called the Love Train, honey, the Love Train. And my husband and I have been attending this the Love Train from as far back as I can remember, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and we love it. The messages are really informative. So this video is basically a update of how the event went, what we learned, and yeah, I'll just be telling y'all on what we learned from the Love Train, because this is how we got to spend our Valentine's Day. We didn't have any hectic plans. We didn't have anything planned. And speaking of which plans, my husband and I just hit 1,000 days this past Sunday, the 12th of February, and we had wanted to celebrate. We wanted to go out, but instead we traveled to Serowe with my father, who we regularly have to drive to the home village, So that just went out of the window. Our 1,000 days plans went out of the window because we got home pretty late at around 10. And then we postponed our plans to Valentine's Day, which was yesterday. But then we couldn't do anything for Valentine's Day. I spent the whole day trying to look for jobs and just do stuff like that. So, and then I checked on my friend. So by the time I got home, I was really exhausted from all that. We just watched our video from our wedding video and just shared on the sweet memories from our wedding day, which was really sweet, and it was a very sweet reflective moment for us. I really enjoyed that. And my husband did get me some truffles. I love these. Truffles are not really my favorite chocolates. Yeah, they're not. Usually he gets me these Kalahari chocolates, but yeah, so he got me these truffles and I was really excited. We enjoyed them. He got these for me in his trip in Dubai, so I had to keep them for a week until Valentine's Day, but they were worth the wait. They were worth the wait. Now, getting on to why we're here, the Love Train. So it started last week, Wednesday, Thursday through to Friday, and it usually spends over 3 days. I'll start with the negatives that we picked up from the love train. What we have felt over the years, or what we have observed and seen from, I'll refer to him as the man of God, the Prophet Biaframs, or Coach Biaframs, however way, is that we tended to see a more negative feel from the love train. I don't know if I'm putting it quite well, but he tends to dwell more on kind of scary examples rather than the good and the positive. I'm not saying that he doesn't talk about the positive things. The love train is all about relationship. It's like a relationship workshop or mentorship session that goes over for 3 days. So it comes every year around Valentine's Day, right? So when it comes to relationships, and when it comes to the perspective or looking at it from, you're trying to preach to believers and people who are not believers all at the same time, you're not trying to scare people into marriage or out of marriage, or into relationships or out of relationships. A typical example is he would tell you, or throughout this particular love train, the previous ones, he really didn't focus on this, but this particular one, he would give, like really, I feel like scary examples. Like, for example, he was talking about how as a lady, you need to reserve yourself, you need to the whole save yourself for marriage. That is all good. But then he goes on to say, of how you can contract STDs, of how you can, be depleted by the time you meet the love of your life. You have nothing to give, give in terms of like you be tired and worn out from all this playing that you've been doing, both from a lady and a man, right? This is really good, but I think he should, also reinforce it by showing us some of the good and the positive things that do happen in relationships, that some of the positive and the good benefits of a relationship and a marriage. I think that would be more encouraging, rather than you remember how when we first got born again, there were these fear messages about how you're going to hell if you don't do this. So this is the kind of feel that we were getting from this, that kind of, you're going to hell if you don't do this, So instead of that, focus more on Jesus, so that people can see Jesus, so that people can, see this love that you preach about, so that people can get to appreciate this, so that people can really know your God by making a sound decision rather than, doing it out of fear. I hope you get what I mean. And then another thing on the opposites was, sometimes I feel like he doesn't want to talk. He's not relatable. I don't know if I should say relatable, if that's the good word, but he has a good PR regime going on. You know how you attend a celebrities TED Talk and they try to give an example based off of themselves, but it's kind of like a touchy-feely example, like it's so shallow. Yeah, that's the correct word, and you don't really get to relate with this person. Don't get me wrong, he is such an amazing speaker. There's so much that I'm about to unpack from the love train. My husband and I have tremendous testimonies from previous love trains. Even this love train was so beautiful. It was such an eye-opener for us in our relationship. It's just that I also kind of wanted to highlight the negatives, like I said. I don't know why I am over-explaining myself, but anyway. So yeah, there's just that. He gave an example. He gives this example every year of how his wife was earning more than him. He was earning, I think, 10% of his wife's salary, something like that, and how they made it work throughout. You know, I would like to hear the true feelings, because also there was a question of somebody who asked the question and was like, I'm just paraphrasing, it's not I didn't write down things, so I'm just saying this off of the top of my head, you know. So this person was saying that you know, they are struggling with being the man of the relationship, something like that. If I'm putting it onto simpler terms, right? And then he said that he didn't struggle with that. Not that I'm saying that people should struggle with that. There was a point in my relationship with my husband where he was on internship and I was working, you know, and obviously the dynamics of a government internship, it doesn't pay at all, you know. And you know, his masculinity wasn't stripped away. He didn't feel less of a man because of that, you know. But the honest truth is, it was kind of hard for us to be in that phase. The honest truth was that my husband wanted to do so much for me that he felt that he couldn't do, you know, and it would pain him, you know. So, you know, there are certain realities that when you're going through a certain phase, you go through them. Maybe the man of God didn't want to delve much into his personal space, but I feel like this relatability show us that, can we get a little bit of vulnerability from you? I'm not saying like go all out, but just a little bit of vulnerability. That's all that I'm asking for, you know, so that we can feel that we relate and, you know, learn something and see that, oh, actually you are normal. Because this year he also kept on emphasizing that we shouldn't idolize him and his wife, view them as this couple goals who got it all together, because they do struggle, they do fight, they do all of those things, right? That's all good, but I like to know some of that. Like, I'm not saying like go all out and be telling us that, oh my goodness, I got home and she did it, but you know, just something, you know, make it relatable. I don't know what to say, but I think giving that example of me and my husband, how the dynamics of our relationship during that point kind of shows you what I mean. I mean, I think y'all can relate that, you know, when a woman is earning more, not that there's anything wrong with it, women in the society earn more than their husbands, and it's totally fine, you know. It's just that for some relationships, it can, you know, have these emotions, bring up certain emotions in you, especially because of how we are raised as Africans, whereby the man is the sole provider, stuff like that, you know. So it can eat away at someone's self-esteem. And I think for a certain extent, my husband and I experienced that, whereby he felt like, oh my goodness, like I feel like I should be doing more for you, but I'm really not in that season, you know. So that was just us. Now, enough about me, and now let's get on to the good things that we experienced from the love train. So day one of the love train. To be quite honest, child, I felt like this was more speaking into the singles and preparing them for marriage. But we also learned some really great lessons from it. We took away that, you know, okay, I'll get into some of the great lessons that we learned. So usually the love train, there's usually something called the single smingle. I hope I pronounced it correctly. I'm not quite sure if it was there this year, because my husband and I were late the first day because I have class and I had to attend class, and class ends late. You know, so we were like something like 2 hours late, and then But we got there right on time when he was just starting the sermon. But then which means that we missed out on the entire service. So there could have been a singles mingle. That could have been the theme of the first day. We don't know. And then we were not there again on the second day, so I'm still not sure. You know, it was because of my class, and then there were heavy rains after my class, and homegirl can't drive in the rain, so I just had to stay where I was. Yeah. So getting right onto it. So he talked about, you know, how men love and how women respect. I think he based it off of that scripture on Ephesians. I'm not sure if it's Ephesians 5:12. Let me just, okay, let me just try to. So it is not Ephesians 5:12, but it's that from Ephesians 5 verse 22. It speaks about wives and husbands. I think you guys can read it up. I'll just take the verse 25. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. You know, so he continued on and he elaborated on the love that your husband can give to you. He elaborated clearly on that, you know, just talking about how, you know, your husband is supposed to be there for you, and, you know, just loving basically. And he just, you know, went on to mention that some of the fights that happen in relationships is because you know, women, we try to love. I'm not saying that women shouldn't love. I hope you don't take this out of context, but basically that we sort of have a mixture of roles, and there can be blurred lines on that. You know, your wife is to, your duty is to respect your husband, you know, give him the respect, shower him with that respect. It reminds me of this Nigerian song that is on TikTok. Oh my goodness, I just realized that I can't play it up on here because and then he went on to give different examples on love and respect. You know, the other thing that struck out to me was when he mentioned how we are attracted to people who are opposite of us. I remember my friend Ludo once mentioned this a couple of years ago, and she gave this exact same sentiment that the man of God gave. And she said that it's funny how the thing that attracts you to your partner ends up being the very same thing that causes conflict in the relationship. You know, for example, you're a person who is not very good with money, and then you marry a person or get into a relationship with a person who is very good with money. You know, their budget is on check, you know, everything is on lockdown. And then this becomes a cause of conflict, because where you want to splurge, the saver is like, nah, hold it up. Did we budget for this? Is this, you know, and you're like, can you live a little? Can we splurge on this? I mean, I just made a big bonus at work. Come on, you know. And the person thinks, no, you're crazy. We are budgeting it down. There's nothing like splurge, right? So the man of God then went on to say, in such kind of instances, y'all should complement each other. Y'all should constantly, you know, remind yourselves. You know, it is a constant. Remember, love, relationship, marriages, it's all about being intentional, right? So y'all should continually keep remembering why you're doing this. For an example of a constant courage can be to the saver, you know, that person can be good in making lifelong investments, helping you guys save money for the family. And then you, the impulsive person, you know, you can see a deal and want to strike that deal, but then the saver will help you, because they will be like, nah, let's examine the stats, let's go through this. If let's say you want to buy a company, they're gonna do their thorough research, they're gonna go through it just to make sure that you are making the right deal. You see how you complement each other in that instance. For example, another example can be that he gave actually was people with time. Someone is not good with time, the other is very good with time and very time conscious. This person, instead of being frustrated with your partner for not being able to keep time, like, put measures in place. And this is what he kept on reiterating, that relationships, you should be able to clearly communicate, because you are adults. Say you haven't invented 5, like, put measures in place that are going to help you guys and going to help the slow person make it on time. Such kind of things, just so that you complement each other. And I know somebody can be thinking, child, this is gonna be a lot for me, because I'm going to always have to be on the end of I have to be uptight, I have to budget, I have to keep time, I have to, be the strict person, while the other person cruises along in life. I don't believe that that's the way it is, because we all have flaws, and this person will also pick you up in where you are flawed in. I wanted to give an example of me and my husband. So my husband is not the most romantic human being on earth. Yeah, no, he's not romantic. So this then resulted in me having to plan date nights, having to, be creative and spontaneous for the relationship to work, So for me not to feel this burden and heavy load is to keep on showing him stuff like, babe, Valentine's Day is coming up, just to make him aware that, can you, do something if it's something that I value, or my birthday is coming up, help him in that regard. Unfortunately, as the person who has to cover someone's flaws, that is what it is. You are covering someone's flaws. So you don't have to feel like heavy burdened or this, and you're not going to do it all the time. You also communicate with your partner, and them being the considerate person they are, they're going to pull up their socks one way or the other. For example, my husband is good at planning like big things. So his romantic gestures are like big things, like planning a holiday or a weekend getaway, those kind of things. And I have to plan the little things like the date nights, the spontaneous picnic dates, those kind of things, right? And then one thing that I like was when the man of God talked about, how as a single person, you have to be self-assertive, you have to be sure of yourself, you have to really mature and grown up before you enter into marriage. I know a lot of people tend to say they're not marriage material, and I tend to make a good example by myself. I don't know how to cook, I don't know how to clean. I felt like I'm not good enough, but then I got to realize that those things are not what make up a marriage. You can learn those things, the materialistic things, you can learn them. And I felt like I'm not working at the moment, I'm not worthy of being in marriage. What am I contributing? What am I bringing to the table? But I can get a job. Those are things that I can change with time, as time goes on, as I grow and evolve, But then there are certain things that you really have to work on them before you get into marriage. These things are habits. These things are lifelong forming things that when they can be detrimental to the growth of your marriage. And then he gave this example and he said, I want to get this right. He said, there's nothing like we grew apart in marriages. So what this basically means is that both of you don't grow apart. You actually grow together. He said he doesn't believe in this thing whereby it's like, oh, he completes me, and then there are things where couples are like, oh, we do everything together. I remember specifically he made this example and he said it sounds cute and all, but when you dive deep into it, as a person you have to have individuality. And he spoke of singleness in marriage. Not that y'all should be acting shady and be single, no. What this basically means is you have to be yourself. Don't lose yourself. And then I remember a Love Train, I think from 3 years ago, the first lady even wrote a book about this. It's about, you know, a dedication to newlyweds. She said that she saw this newlywed lady from her church, and she was really grieved at how bad and terrible this girl looked, yet they knew her as this nice slay girl, you know, who's got it all together in terms of look and just, you know, the persona. And then she realized that what happened to this girl is she lost herself. Sorry about that. She lost herself when she got married, you know. I'll give an example on this. My friends and I were actually having this conversation this week. Like, I'm an unemployed graduate and my husband is the sole provider of the family. This means that our finances or our budget is quite stretched. It's stretched up among different responsibilities that we have. So certain things like, you know, self-care can sort of take a dive in the budget. But what I did, I'll insert a picture, is I just started becoming creative, you know. It first started with my hair. I started being innovative and creative with my hair, and, you know, just seeing on ways that I can reduce the hair budget. And then just things like upkeep, like doing your face when you're going out, and, you know, just taking the clothes that you have in your closet, that one jean that you have, that one t-shirt, iron it and go out with it. Obviously they're gonna be like 2 jeans, and, you know, as soon as I got this, it freed me. I don't want to lie. Like right now, when somebody invites me to an event, I'm not stressed out thinking I don't have anything to wear. Rather, I go into my closet and look into things that I already have and find ways to be innovative and creative with my outfits that I've already had, you know. And I've seen that I've started enjoying it. And this has also been helping me to know and learn my style, know and learn what suits my body, because sometimes you just buy something for an event and it's in such a rush that you didn't really have time to think if that thing really suits your body, to later seeing in pictures that child, no, that doesn't go well with my body. So such kind of things, you know. I lost my trail of thought. What is that talking about? Being self-assertive, right? And just how when you're self-assertive, I don't know how I arrived here, but yeah, I'm just, when you're self-assertive, you know yourself. For example, because I was a very self-assertive person, I built my self-esteem, and, you know, I worked on my inward self before I got married. Certain things like not getting an outfit for each and every event doesn't bother me, those kind of things, because I'm like, you know what, we don't have the budget for it right now, so it's fine if I dive into my closet and find something to wear. You know, it's fine if I start doing my hair at home, you know, certain kind of things. It's fine if I go for a 200 pula hairstyle instead of going for my normal 500 pula budget hairstyle. This costs 200 pula, including the braid, like, child. And, you know, those kind of things, you know, come handy once you're married. And here's the thing, not to say that once you're married, you don't have to continually working on yourself. This is why he says you have to mature. This is why he says you have to grow together, not growing apart. If you didn't know yourself, you're definitely going to grow apart, because you're going to mature, you're going to grow up, you're going to learn yourself, you're going to realize that, this is actually not the direction I wanted my life to take, But then if you're a self-assertive individual before marriage, you are able to grow. You are able to say, my life is not taking the direction that I had expected. How am I going to reroute? You sit down, and your husband is not going to be shocked by this, because he's going to be there helping you grow. He doesn't like, what did I call it? He doesn't he compliments you instead of completing you. Jesus, our only completion, and he kept on making the relevancy to that, right? And then another on making emphasis on, single people, and how they have to be respecting of their bodies, their time, just their space. As a gentleman, he says, your car shouldn't be seen parked at so-and-so's house, so like you're available to all the ladies in town. What is that about? As a woman, you can be seen, your dressing table is bought by Peter, your bed was bought by John. Be an independent woman. That is what you are in your singleness, and it doesn't take away from you needing a partner in future. He says, be a go-getter, as a single person. This drive will also help you to make sound decisions when it comes to relationships, because you're not going to be just looking at things on a one-sided point of view when it comes to relationships. Maybe just looking at choosing a partner based off of your lack. If you're able to know that your provider is Jesus. And he also encouraged the single to cultivate their relationship with Christ a lot during that time. This will help them keep going, keep their relationship cultivated, even in marriage. This reminded me of a certain example. I remember over the years, people in church, there was a certain thing that was going around, that once a person, not even in the church, once a person gets married, they start changing their friends. They forget those friends that they grew up with. And then this got me thinking, when he talked about, having a relationship with Christ, I'm like, if your relationship with that friend was genuine, and it was serving to the both of you, and it was cultivated and nourished well, if you're genuinely a good person, I know there are some people who are shady, and they can be dumping their friends and just choosing to roll with married people. Now, I'm not talking about shady people. I'm talking about mature people here, right? Your relationship has grown. You have cultivated it. You are going to continue with those friends. They're going to know their limits now when it comes to your marriage, because this is now an adult relationship with your friends that you're having. I mean, with my friends, I do remember a certain example where I felt like these other two certain friends were stepping over the boundaries. They wanted to go hang out with my husband's friends without both me and my husband present. And I felt like, no, these are my husband's friends. They're not your friends. You get it? Yeah, I just felt like, no, ladies. But then I explained it to them, and they got it, you see, because this is a mature friendship, right? So, moving right along, we went to day 3. Remember, I said that we were not able to attend day 2. And then day 3 for us was really amazing. He talked so much about God. Another thing about the Love Train is they always have these sessions. For example, a question and answer session whereby both the pastor, the first lady, and the pastor, were giving advices. People got to send in that question anonymously. That was very insightful. I hope people were able to get their answers. I'll not delve much into that because for me, I felt like it was more of opinion. So, it works for some people, it doesn't work for other people, and it's totally okay. But for day 3 was amazing. It was beautiful. It was a good way to close the event. Something that my husband and I have always felt that was lacking in this event. It is a Christian event, but we felt like it was more centered. I don't know how to properly say this in a way that it doesn't come off like I misread the situation or anything like that, but it was more of, he's a good coach, he's a good public speaker, he has years of wisdom, and we really appreciate that, but then the Jesus factor was missing from it. I love conversing with a Christian and knowing that they're Christian. I don't have to keep guessing or wondering if they're a Christian. I hope you get what I mean. And I hope that you're getting that from me. That's the feeling that I leave with you. After I've interacted with people, I love to leave them, with that presence, the love of God. God is always with us. Always with us. That one, but then I don't want them to wonder, is she a Christian? Is she a lukewarm Christian? Like, what's going on? But then this year, it was beautiful. He spoke, he preached. And that's the thing. We haven't attended any church service at his church, but this gave us a good glimpse into what he has to offer as a prophet, because I feel like we know him more of a coach than the pastor, the leader, the church leader. We just know him as a coach. And yeah, so it was just beautiful. I can't stress this enough. He spoke basically on Ecclesiastes 4:12. I'll read that. And he talked about accountability. He talked about the love of God. He just talked about how unbreakable the love of God is. Now let me get on to Ecclesiastes 4 verse 12. So, though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. And basically he was talking about how Jesus needs to be present in y'all's relationship. How, you can do it together, right? Like the Bible says, 1 may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves, but 3-strand cord, that cannot be broken. And for my husband, we have been pretty challenged in this season, but we have been finding more and more that relying on God, relying on the Bible, on the Word of God, and just being in church and fellowshipping, it's really keeping us, and it's keeping us grounded, it's keeping us sane. I struggle with anxiety, and recently I have been able to overcome. I do get triggers here and there, but the love of God just overpowers and it heals that trigger. And even in our relationship, just a couple of weeks ago, my husband and I had this argument basically about, you remember how I spoke of how the man of God said you complement each other, and how the other party, who is stronger in something has to, cover their partner in that other thing. Yeah, so I felt like in the relationship, I was always the one who is initiating these, little dates, date nights, and these cute little things. And I feel like my husband was not putting in effort in that regard, But then, just listening to that sermon and just seeing that, the love of God it has to overwhelm you. It has to always help you to be the bigger person. It always has to, when the love of God comes into your marriage, or it is always there, you both have to, strive to love each other more. Someone said this, and they said they wake up each morning with their partner and they're like, I'm going to outlove my husband. I'm going to love them more than they love me. And the husband likewise is like, I'm going to love my wife more than she loves me. So certain things, though they are a bother, like how I was feeling like, you need to be doing more, boy. When we pray about it, God is also able to help him, to be able to put in the effort and just look for innovative ways to be there for me, as well as me. On the other hand, I'm able to be compassionate towards him, and just be able to be understanding that he's not very romantic. He didn't grow up in that type of setting. He never grew up in this whole lovey-dovey fairy tale kind of a setting, and it's kind of new to him. I was his first girlfriend. I am his first girlfriend, and that whole concept, he's still learning things as we're going. So I just felt compassion over him as the man of God was preaching over the love train, and we just had an amazing conversation with my husband, of how we can overcome everything. God gives us the strength. He has given us the strength and the power to overcome, and we can do it. It also helped him. So this brings me to my last point that the man of God made, that always pray about everything, and in all things trust God. All things do work together for the good of those who love God. Remember, he has given us all things. It is for us to pray and believe for, right? And this was beautiful. It was a beautiful note to end the love train on. I do hope that you guys can attend in future. I definitely learned a lot. I'll try to get a clip from last year's love train, because I do know that I made videos on that, but it was before I started my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it, and I hope you got to learn a lot, as I definitely learned a lot from this love train. Be sure to subscribe, comment, like, and share the love. I love you. It's your girl, Princess Lily M, baby.